Right, well, there's a bit of weed around, but you think you can present pretty well on the bottom, or alternatively, you think you found a clear spot, but there might be a little bit of weed on it. The Ronnie Rig is just a brilliant way of presenting. And remember, with a Ronnie, it's not a case of getting around the weed for presentation, it's a case of just keeping that hook point off the deck. So when a fish does come in and feed on the top of it, the hook point isn't snagged in the weed. If you fish a straightforward bottom bait and there's weed around, then the hook point could snag into it, fish tries to pick the bait up, you know what, it can't, or alternatively it goes in but it doesn't give you a good hook hold. Just by lifting the bait off the deck and keeping the point away from that weed, that makes a massive amount of difference. So, Ronnie rigs, this is how I fish mine. As you can see, I've got a little packet of them already made up. I really cannot be bothered to make these on the bank, so I'll just sit at home watching a bit of telly, or letting the missus watch telly, should I say, while I rattle a few rigs out and get them all made. Now, one of the key things with this is you want that nice curve. That's really, really important, as is where the bait sits on that. And there's two different hooks I use for this. One of them is this one, the Razor Point medium curve in a size 6, and that is when I'm using a 15mm bait. And the other one, guess what? It's the same pattern. Exactly the same hook, medium curve again, but this is in a size 8, and that works for the smaller baits. Also, depending on the fish size that you're looking for as well, if you're on the continent, you might want to go a little bit bigger just to get an extra bit of hook hold. But I just want to talk briefly about these Razor Point hooks. Now, Carp Spirit, their hooks are absolutely fantastic. They are so, so sharp. Now, there's a lot of sharp hooks out there. Most companies these days, let's face it, have got good sharp hooks. But with a Ronnie rig in particular, you've spent quite a lot of time constructing them, so you want something that's going to last certainly more than one fish. And these things, not only are they really sharp, but they last a long time. They're a very, very durable, good hook. We use them in competition because you don't have to change your rig every single time. It does give you that little bit more choice. And when the fish are on the feed, if you do have a hook blunt, you're going to have to put a new rig on. With these, they just don't go. So remember that Razor Point medium curves. So let's have a look at how we set it up. And once again, it is dead simple. Ring swivel, quick release, 3.2mm tubing, shrunk over the top. Ring swivel, micro, small bead, and literally you can see how it's constructed. Stick it on there. Be careful obviously when you're burning the shrink tube down. I use a straight lighter to do that. And it will take it down quite nicely, but try not to leave it on there for too long, don't melt it. So that rig is now ready. Once again, I'll get my old favourite rig material. This is Combisoft, £20 in green, and it's really nice. It's nice and supple. So about 30 centimetres of it. Snip it off, and then rather than Palomaring, or even worse, using a blood on these, I like to put a loop at the end of it. Now you have to be a bit careful if you're doing a blood knot with this, because with any coated material it can slip. So either a Palomar or alternatively a figure of 8. So I'm going to leave quite a nice big loop on there, like so. Turn it round the back, nice and easy, pass it through the front, and then bed it down. And what you'll find there is I've got a really nice little loop. The figure of 8 won't slip, that will grip lovely. I'll just pull it a little bit tighter. I tease it really slowly and also push the knot back in as well, because that just stops it from fracturing any coating and makes it sit nicely. And I like that extra bit of movement. You can see there's a loop there. You can make it bigger if you want, but there's a loop there, there's a ring, and there's a swivel, and of course it turns. So that will jingle and jangle all over the place, and it really does nail them every time. Chop that down, fairly easy. And then at this end, I'm going to put another loop. Same style, but a little bit bigger this time. So nice big turn back. Let's just check how far that is. That's actually nearly 10 centimeters coming back there. So going right down to the base of it, over the front, round the back, pass it through, and I want that big loop. Figure of 8's bedding itself down. You can see where it's getting its name from. Wet it a little bit, then get your puller tool at this end. I use the thicker rounder bit there, and I'm just going to tease that. I'm not going to really yank it, I'm just teasing it down, making sure that it's nice and solid. And there we are. Snip the end off. And that is another brilliant rig ready to go. Now there's no bait screw with this one, you've got to floss your baits on. So with one of the offcuts, thread that through, pop that on, and I'm going to use my absolute favourite hook bait, which is the 12mm pink hit and runs. These things they catch fish everywhere, they really, really do. I'll get the orange needle for this one, so passing it through. I've got to bed it in there because it's quite tight, but that's one of the advantages with that. Pull it onto the swivel, got a loop there, holding the bait, just pull that through. You can knot it if you want, or alternatively, snip the ends off and burn it down. Don't burn the bait, lob it flat, pull it off the ring at the other end, and that's ready to go. Now, just before we leave Ronnie's, just want to talk about one of the most important parts, and it's this thing. This is the bead that holds it in place. And it's really important that you get this bead right in the right place, because it affects how that bait sits and also how the rig sits as well, as does the buoyancy of the bait. So if you put it very high up, it'll sit back on itself. If you put it lower down, it'll curve around a little bit. You can even have it, when it gets buoyant, working as a bridge rig. They'll still work, but just think about what you want to achieve. But remember, just check that that bead is gripping, and every time you reel it in, check that as well. I've got an old one here that's been out, and it's had a bit of work, this one. It's had a few fish on it already, and you can see there, that bead slides really easily. So that rig is now dead. It's not going to present anywhere near as well as I want it to. Even if the hook point is sharp, even if everything looks all right, if that bead moves, it's not doing its job. So just double or even triple check that all the time. Nice and strong there. And that is, without any shadow of doubt in my mind, the best rig to use when there's just a little bit of something on the deck and you just want that hook point staying out of danger.